Automation, automation nation, automation, automation nation, automation, automation nation, around the nation, automation, automation nation, automation, automation nation, automation, automation nation. Around the nation, around the nation, around the nation. Welcome to the Automation Nation podcast, the show for business leaders, tech aficionados, and those who are just simply curious about where technology and business are going. Automation Nation is your gateway to understanding automation, AI, and the future of business. Don't get left behind. Tune in now and subscribe for more. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Automation Nation conversation. I'm your host, Rob Howes. My guest, Sam Drauschak from Truvle, is here, and we are going to talk about a very interesting topic. I mean, I'm really fascinated by what this gentleman does. He's a process scientist and a conscious business advocate. Now, honestly, I've been around for a little while, folks. I've never heard those words put together quite in such a way. But I'm curious, Sam. You can explain to us what that is. First, welcome to the show, and then jump right into telling everybody what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. So process science, let's start there, and I'll try to give the short version.
Okay.
So before, you might have heard of process improvement engineer, process engineer, whatever it is. Process science is just the next level of process work, which is to say what I do as a process person can be replicated, and it has the rigor and the consistency and the standardization so that other people, if they looked at the same process system, same business, same problem, they would get similar findings. So the biggest difference between process science and other types of process work is there's really an academic sort of rigor to it, and there should be an ability to replicate that work in other contexts, similar contexts.
I like that. So that makes a lot of sense. So, man, well, first of all, before we jump into this, we ask all our guests this question because we're powered by Simply Automate. If you could just simply automate one thing in your personal life, Sam, if you could simply automate one thing in your personal life, what would that thing be?
That's a good one. Probably taking care of my son, getting him down for naps. That's the first thing that pops to mind right now. That one I've had a tough time automating. I'm the only person who can seem to do it.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. That's a tough one there.
Yeah, and honestly, all the things that I would normally want to automate, there's so many great tools now that I find, like for personal productivity, I have done a lot of automation. So it's really the fact that I think it's childcare is the first thing on my list. It really shows there's a lot of powerful things that we can do for work and our personal productivity for sure.
So true, man. So true, which jumps us right. Oh, by the way, folks, if you're tuning in right now, thank you for tuning in wherever you are, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter X, where else are we? All the podcast platforms. Thank you very much for listening, watching. If you have a question, drop it in the comments. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Drop it in there. And if you're listening to this, of course, you can ask a question, but you can reach out to Sam, and his information's in the bottom in the description as well. So, Sam, how? We're talking automation now. How do you help? Like, let's talk about this automation best practices in consulting. Like, let's open that door a little bit.
Sure. So a lot of the work we do in the consulting side of the process work is helping businesses scale and grow. That's really what everyone's looking for. They want to scale. They want to do more with less. That's the nature of process work. And automation is the main lever that companies pull to do that. So if you want to scale your business sustainably and profitably, you have to be automating, which means driving decision-making down to lower cost resources. And in the general sense, you may think automation has to be to software, it has to be to robots, but that's not necessarily true. It could be an executive is making decisions today and a junior person is making them tomorrow. That's a form of successful automation. So when we talk about how do we help businesses automate, a lot of it starts with good process work, good process mapping, understanding what the processes are, good process analysis, and helping simplify and clarify decision making. Because whether you're going to put it to a robot, you're going to put it to an intern, you're going to put it to artificial intelligence, you have to understand what the process is. That's the nature of automation work. And that's how we help businesses achieve automation.
That's good. That's good. So basically helping them understand, getting them more clarity, essentially. That's a great practice. Well, what about the challenges? Because there's a lot of challenges. I mean, this automation is great. We do automation for companies, or I've seen how automation can take multiple hours away from someone, but then with all the pros, there's cons, and so what are some of those challenges that you see companies are facing when trying to implement that automation?
The challenges are numerous, and the challenges is that the work is very complex. And like you said, a lot of people lack clarity when they go into automation work. They think, oh, I'll just buy the latest tool and I'll just put it in my organization and turn it on and I'll get benefits from automation. That's not how it works. It takes a lot of complicated process knowledge to make that process work, how you think it will work. So the biggest challenge is people don't have access to good process tools. They don't understand process science methodology. They don't even have a good way to map or document their process so they can communicate it to other people. And until you can communicate process information more effectively, you're always going to struggle with your automation efforts because it's complicated. You have to be able to describe it and make good requirements and tell vendors how to configure their technology well.
Very important, because of, again, that clarity on all parts, all elements, from the internal to the external. Do you have a methodology to help gain this clarity? Well, and what would you say the best? Because that's almost that's catastrophic, actually, if you don't have a plan. Somebody said if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But if you try to succeed without planning, that plan won't succeed. So tell us, man, how should folks approach this?
Absolutely. And the simplest answer is map your processes first. And that's why I'm such a huge proponent. And that's why our company, we build a lot of process mapping tools to help people with this. But if you can't draw your process that's going to be impacted by automation, that's going to be the subject of business changes in general, you're not going to be able to change it. You have to know where you are to take a first step. And a lot of people try to skip this work. To your point, they try to skip the planning piece. And the planning piece necessarily has to include what are the processes that are going to be impacted by your plan, by your changes. So you have to map process. And that means you have to draw it. You have to be able to document it. And you have to be able to do that accurately and effectively. So that's always my first thing, which is even if you want to do it on pen and paper, we've got a detailed method to make it easier for you. But the first part of any methodology is mapping your process and getting it on paper.
Map it out. What is that, Dora? That's the map. Yeah, you need it. You have to have it, because without it, you're going to get more than swiping. There's going to be a whole lot of things going wrong here, man. I like what you're doing. So let's talk about, because success is great. People have success. I think social proof is one of the greatest things when you're trying to prove something, because people are like, hey, this worked for me. I'm a human. So, or this worked for them. I'm a human, so it might work for me. So let's talk about a success story. Somebody who improved their process by, using automation. Why don't you bring on one of those? You can bring two of it if you have it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of those.
I bet.
And I'm going to start with a very simple example. It's somebody who is doing their own bookkeeping by hand, saving receipts, logging in an Excel sheet where all their expenses are attributed to. The simplest form of automation is when you buy a nice SaaS product that's well established. Let's talk about QuickBooks, Xero, a bookkeeping and accounting software. That's a great form of automation, putting it in and making sure that there's a system that can do things that you used to have to do on paper or by hand. And if you take that as a simple example, and we scale to massive companies doing these things, if I want to put in a system to manage my entire HR department, then you have systems like Workday. And that's I've done a lot of work there where you put in a Workday configuration and it helps automate a number of things with hiring candidates, onboarding them, doing their paperwork, making sure they're compliant. You can basically pick anything. We do a lot of work with project management systems, putting in Monday, putting in Asana, putting in Microsoft Project. It's all about configuring, but all that are great examples of automation, putting in the right system meant for the right job and making sure people are getting out of spreadsheets and on paper.
People still use paper, man?
People still use paper, much more, especially in the big companies. They're trying to get away from it, but people are talking about AI. I think this is one of the funniest things, right? Every show I get on, we talk about AI is going to take over the world. Most of my clients are struggling to get out of Excel. They can barely get off of passing paper notes around the water cooler. You know what I mean? It's going to take time. It's complicated.
It's going to take time for the robots to take over the world because the old bunnies aren't hopping.
I'm not saying they won't take over the world. I'm just saying it's not going to be tomorrow.
Let me tell you, when they take over the world, I'm tell you what's going to happen. This is my narrative, by the way.
Yeah.
When they take over the world, it'll be the human mind. It'll be the HI and AI working together. The human mind controlling the AI mind that will be controlling the world through the human mind. This is my story, because without that method, without that process, that's called extinction, and I'm not writing that. so, oh man, that's good. It's a lot of gloom and doom though. Let's talk about that, because a lot of people are scared. It's crap, man. They think that the robots are after your job. Well, I want to tell you, if it's a job that is repetitive, yeah, it's gone. It's like smoke. And there's pros and cons to that. I'll tell you mine, you tell me yours. The pros are, okay, well, the cons are you lost your job, okay? The pros are now you can upskill. Now you can grow. Now you can develop. Now you can find more skills and abilities that you can bring to the marketplace and bring more value to yourself, your family, and your community. A lot of times we get stuck doing something, and that's where the human mind, I mean, we're habitual creatures, man. 80-90% of the stuff we do is over and over and over and over and over. We don't even know we're doing it. But that could be detrimental if you're doing the same thing over and over and it's not working. So anyway, that was a rant. What's your thoughts on that though? Because I don't think it's the end, but I do think that a lot of jobs will be lost, but a lot will be created. There's a stat that says for every job lost, technology creates almost 3. So I'm done talking, Sam. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mostly agree with the perspective you just shared. I do think there's going to be a lot of jobs that can be automated through increasing advances in technology and good configuration work and things like that. I don't know if I'm as bullish as you on every job that's replaced will create 3 new jobs. I think there's a lot of room for innovation and evolution in businesses, but I think those jobs will continue to get more and more complex and you'll need less of them. So I'm not sure about the job creation aspect, but I certainly do think if you are in a job that could get automated, then it does, I certainly agree with it, opens up an opportunity for you to upskill, take on more complicated work, take on more intellectually stimulating work, because there's still a huge amount of jobs out there for people that are not able to be automated, and it will be a while before they can be automated, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Oh, and just for clarity, so what I meant by the job creation, I meant jobs not related to the job that was just taken, but just different type of jobs like Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and all these other jobs that people have right now that we don't even know what the titles are. But 10 years ago, these titles did not exist. That's what I meant there. But what do you want to say, Sam?
Oh, and I was going to say, and that I agree with it. Yeah, and maybe I mistook your comments. I do think there's going to be a creative amount of creative potential, because there's a lot of things that we can't do today because we didn't have the technology for it, and we can't even conceive what people will want tomorrow with all this crazy tech around. So yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the future, and there's no reason to be afraid of it.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. What do we do, man? What's some approach you might take for someone who may be a little bit hesitant about that and resistant? What are some technology, maybe some methodologies that you use?
Sure. So especially in the process science realm, no matter what complexity or what organization or what problem, I'm using the same methodology. It's kind of like the scientific method. And change management to me is really predicated on being very transparent and bringing everyone along in that journey. I think change management is very difficult if you're just going by the seat of your pants, because it's hard to explain to people what's happening, when it's going to happen, why it's happening. I think the best thing to do for change management is to be very transparent about your methods, keep your methods consistent, and go about it with a methodical rigor so that people can understand and follow. I think that to me at a high level is one of the best things you can do to help with change in organizations.
That's good. That's been working out, man. I like that. And you're keeping it consistent too. The consistency is important because people can remember. That's the thing about consistency. People remember it. When things change a lot, people don't remember it. When people don't remember it, that's when mistakes come.
Yeah, it's funny because people hate change, but if you do the change the same way every time, then the way you're changing is not changing, and they like that. So,
man, I like the way you said that, Sam. That's good. Yeah, I'm going to rewind that so I can hear it, so I can repeat it, because that was good, man. That was a good way you broke that down. So let's talk about strategies, man. For effectively capturing and visualizing, a business process. Let's how do you do that?
Sure. So this is what I was referring to earlier when I said there's a certain way I'd recommend people map process. And that's keep it as simple as possible. So when you talk about effectively capturing process information and visualizing it in documents, you really just want to focus on the business side of the process. So when I'm talking to people, talk to them in a human way. Tell them about how you would tell them a story about your day, but try to keep the system stuff out, right? Because it's hard to follow a story if I say I press submit and then it goes to this database instantly and then goes to 16 other databases. Nobody wants to hear that stuff. You want to write down process like you tell a story, how you go about your day. And the best way to do that is just focus on your physical actions and the decisions you make. And if you kind of keep that perspective, you'll have a lot easier time with your storytelling and your process work.
Say that last part again.
Yeah, just saying, if you want to keep it to intuitive process writing, you want to keep it like you were telling a story and keep it to storytelling. So you want to stick to the who, where, what, and why in the physical world. I think it's really easy to get confused when you start writing down a bunch of weird system behavior, because that's instantaneous and it can be floating in the cloud and it's hard to keep our brains around it. So you want to tell physical stories to make sure that your process information is clear.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Sam, what's the if you were to paint the future that you want to see with your company and what you're doing, what's the best way that it could work out?
Yeah. I would like everyone to see that process mapping and process work can be easier and approachable, and that when they start to try it more, it will become more of a standard in everyone's conversation. So my dream and my ideal is that you wouldn't have a project in an organization where somebody wouldn't ask the first thing, well, where's the process map we need to be looking at? What's the process that we need to, who has documented, who's going to document it? That's sort of changing a business culture. And I think my ideal dream would be our tools and our methods and our knowledge would start to pick up organically because people see the value immediately. And it really changes the narrative about how business should be done.
That's it. Change the narrative, change the paradigm. I like it, man. All right, Sam, listen, I know this is like singing to the choir or preaching to the choir director, but if you could automate one thing in your business life with a blink, click, a wiggle of the nose, even like that, what would it be?
I would love to automate the process of getting visuals I want to create from my mind onto paper. And we're close with generative AI, but not quite. I still have to do quite a lot of work with the generative AI. But that would be the one thing I would need. I have all these visuals I need to get written down. I would love to just be able to think them and automate their creation. That would save me a tremendous amount of time in my life.
Man, well, I tell you, who's leading the charge on that? Midjourney just had some freaking incredible updates. Finally, they have it to where you can actually have a character that stays the same. You know how you make one character, the next character is different, got a bigger head or longer legs. Now they have it to where the characters are very similar. So you just might be able to get your prompts closer now, man. I don't know. You might be able to do it.
That's great. I'm actually glad to hear that because I have struggled with here now do it this way, and then they changed the whole thing. It's kind of like one at a time, and I was like, "Why? That doesn't make any sense. Why can't they fix something?" So that's good to hear. That's encouraging.
All right, Sam, give us your best piece of business advice and your favorite quote.
They're the exact same thing, and that's perfection is the enemy of great. That's my favorite business advice and my favorite quote in one. See there, I simplified it for you.
Wow. Perfection is the enemy of great?
Of greatness, I guess it'd be better to keep it the same, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like that was a book that I've read somewhere.
It's a pretty popular one in process improvement. And really what we're talking about is don't let perfect get in the way of pushing something great out. Really keep things iterative. It's been great business advice for me. And it's also a quote. And I think that I try to live my life that way, right? You do a lot better in life if you don't hold things close to the hip for longer than you have to. Keep pushing things out, keep getting feedback, keep iterating. That's the best way to do process.
Man, you just dropping nuggets, man. Good seeds. Sam, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you, reach out to you, and see what you're up to?
Sure. So Truvle.com, Truvle.com. That's our website. You can reach out to us there, subscribe, check us out, drop us a line. You can always connect with me, Sam Drauschak, on LinkedIn. I'm the only Drauschak out there beside my wife.
The only one.
The only one of note. It's a very unique name. It makes me fine. Google me and just look me up however you can. I love to hear from you if you have any questions about process or you just want to talk about conscious business practices.
I like that. He said, go ahead and Google so you can see the only person there. I like it, man. I like it. Sam, it was a pleasure having you. And folks, remember, you can reach out to Sam in the comment section. You can connect with them on LinkedIn. This information will also be on, if you're listening to this podcast, you can look in the description and the link will be there as well. Oh, man, you have a book, don't you?
I do. Yeah, Becoming a Conscious Business.
Wait a minute. Yeah, we can't get out of here without talking about the book, man. Let's talk about the book. What's the book? What's the book called again?
Becoming a Conscious Business.
Becoming a Conscious Business.
Yeah.
I mean, it says enough in itself right there.
It's actually talking about what you know, the whole idea that automation is advancing, and it's a book about us as people coming together to become businesses ourselves. So it's a bit of a trippy philosophical journey through process and people.
Nice. My light just fell off, like literally while we're talking right here. So this is what I'm dealing with right now, guys. So if you listen to this, I'm just dealing with I'm in the shadows right now. Okay. Sam, that's good, man. Go get the book. I'll drop the book link also in the comments so people can check that out, because I think becoming more conscious, you can't go wrong with it. I just think you can only go in a better direction. I'm not saying it'll be right, because nothing's ever right. You never know until you do it. But if you're more conscious, trust me, you got a better shot. Sam, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. It was a treat.
It was a treat. And folks, remember what I said. Check them out below. And remember, you don't know what you don't know. So get around people who know more than you. Automation